Hello, this is another Severance video, season 2, episode 3. This is just my opinions, feelings, observations. I'm not attached to the show in any way. I'm not getting paid for this, though I wish I was. And I'm trying to get this out as fast as I can because the new episode is dropping right now or going to very soon. And I want to get to that episode because it was a bit of a cliffhanger at the end of the last episode. So here we go. And I'm just reading from my notes and making commentary as I go or whatever. It's very, very scrambled egg this time because I try to stay with the characters. And since the show is really choppy and it bounces back and forth between characters, it's going to sound crazy unless you're like me and you have scrambled egg brain and you'll be fine. So first one, it's a wonder where Harmony was going. It's possible that she didn't have any real plans since she ended up sleeping on the side of the road in the middle of nowhere. And I suspect that if she was still the floor manager and Mark finished Cold Harbor, it would greatly benefit her in some yet unknown way. I did, however, smirk when she pointed out that Helly was in her position through nepotism. And it's obvious that there is some truth to it since Helly didn't have an argument, and instead she resorted to minimization, guilt tripping, and injecting a syringe full of doubt, which, to be honest, that's probably the only reason why she's in her position. Because daddy. Anyway, Harmony thought she'd won that battle, but when the two approached the man who appeared to be Helly's driver, or in place of, what is that one guy's name? Drummond. So I don't know if they switched him out or if he's just another guy that kind of like serves as like a security guard and a long laundry list of other things. She stopped cold in her tracks as if she was afraid of him, afraid of how he fit in the situation, or that she could suddenly smell a trap. Because she was really confident walking up to the doors and she was like, ah! And turned around real fast and sped off. So, yeah, I think it has to do with that guy. There's something important about him. Next is the sketch of Gemma looks like a police sketch. Like, I'm guessing that Helly probably drew her. I don't know. Possibly Mark. It definitely doesn't look like Irving's art, but I don't think the others know that he can draw. So he can draw, Helly can draw, Mark's not the best at drawing. So maybe, I think he's the lead for that because it really does look like a police sketch from like a bad show. It just does. Then there was the near kiss that didn't happen. Like when Mark and Helly were on their way to go find out information about Gemma, they stopped in the hall at some point and they looked like they were about to kiss and they were like this close and Mark was like, nah. But I think that at some point Helly is going to attempt to botch the search for Gemma. Because, she has her own feelings. They don't really know Gemma. And Gemma is more of a concept than anything else for them, I think. She was there she spent 8 hours with them and that was about it. And so Helly really doesn't care that much, but I think over time she'll care less and less. Let's see. The paintings that Milchick got were creepy, especially since he has blue eyes in at least some of them. He looked very, very unnerved by them and eventually hid them away as if they were certainly not the prize they were intended to be, or some kind of bad omen or bad precursor. Ooh, excuse me. He said the right words. He had the right responses, but it really, really felt like Everything he said was nowhere close to what he was thinking. Honestly, I would like to see the ones that Natalie got, what they looked like. I mean, were they done with her face, but with a super short haircut, or the silence after the board call ended felt like they were both terrified and wanted to tell each other something really important but couldn't. And Natalie practically looked like she was gulping, even behind the smile. The fake plastered on smile. The goat people, aka Mammalians Nuturable, I think that's how you pronounce it, have definitely seen some, okay? They look like leftover cast members from Deliverance or The Hills Have Eyes. If you haven't seen either of these movies, let's just say these are films I wish I could unsee. At the very least, they look like, extras from the cast of The Walking Dead. And a number of them, my best count is 27. I counted 27. There might be more. They seem like they have been physically tortured, given the scrapes, bruises, and then their eyes lack light. Because even the manager, like, she had like something on her face. It was black. Like, it could have been anything. But it didn't look like scratches, because scratches, it would on her face, it would have been red. But yeah, they looked battered and bruised, like really beat up and terrified. And we can understand why, because they were, in their minds, they had the same story that OND had in their minds about MDR. So yeah, that's I think that's going to be pretty significant later, that everybody has the same story about MDR having pouches. Like, where did you get that idea from? Anyway, yeah, their eyes lack light. Next we have, at first, I thought it was kind of cruel to send Irving to OND in the search for Gemma, but it's likely Mark figured that he would have the most success getting answers, especially since he'd been there more times than everyone else. And with the way Felicia greeted him, it was a good choice, and probably a really good one. I don't think she was faking any of that. And she plans on showing him the elevator. And I put the word plans because let's say she's gung-ho, she's all for it, and she's going to show him this elevator, Irving, this elevator. That doesn't mean that they're necessarily going to make it to the elevator. Something may happen between here and there. Meanwhile, she says it was in the exports hall, so there is unfortunately a chance that Gemma got sent to another office. So that's a scary thing, that Gemma may actually be in a whole different building, and their efforts to find her would be for naught. So apparently I was wrong about the company using fake family to meet up with Dylan. I'm actually surprised that the company didn't use Dylan's family as a control mechanism earlier on, nor other family members of the group. Then again, they may have put this tool on hold just in case, like a last-minute precaution. I feel like now that Dylan met his wife, has been hugged, told that he was loved, and that she is proud of him, all probably for the first time in his memory from anyone, that he will stop at nothing to continue visits, which will include sabotaging the group and reporting their plans and movements to Milchick. Yeah, I think the whole idea of telling him about family visits and stuff was so he would turn on the group. And it seems that the wife observed a stark difference in his personality versus his outie. The words that come to mind are relaxed, sweet, and happy versus jaded, complacent, and pessimistic. In that, it would make sense that she didn't tell his outie any details, otherwise it might come off as, I like him better than I like you, or he's like you used to be. She may go she may even go through the trouble of trying to get the company to let her visit upon a request instead of just theirs. Curious that in the last episode of the first season, when Milchick was trying to break into the control room, he mentioned that Dylan had another son, but didn't mention that he also had a daughter. As a question, he dumb will never not be funny. It's just never not going to be funny. So I'm afraid that Dylan is going to turn, and that's real unfortunate. Devin has to feel the Lumen squeeze. Given that she came home to Natalie in her living room with Rickon, and both had ridiculous smiles slapped across their faces, paired with nervous tension that almost, from his end, has a layer of sexual tension likely brought on by Natalie continually smiling at him. Unfortunately, there are some men who see a woman's smile as interest and can't seem to distinguish that it may have other meanings. It doesn't help that Rickon bulldozed over Devin's question about how his book made it to the severed floor. And because it was one of these in words, like, really? We've moved on. You guys had a conversation. I wasn't here. I want to know. Anywho, and that he's excited about the idea of reworking his book from Lumen rather than being suspicious of it like she is. If it's great, if it's good the way it is, why would you need to change it? For a company, no less. And it really wouldn't shock me if Natalie were able to talk him into becoming severed, and that he would actually sneak away when Devin's not around to do it. Like, he's so gullible. He's a dumb donkey. Just, because if you don't think he's a dumb donkey, I have one word for you: kelp. Anyway, how did Asal Ragabi find Mark? Was she following him, maybe? And at the same time, there are no other cars seen or heard beyond his, not even headlights from any cars. He's there by himself in the dark doing an experiment, and then there she is. Let's see. I suspect that she may be Irving's outside contact. I could be far off, because we don't know. We didn't hear a voice, nothing, because he left a voice message from a payphone. We don't know. But she could be. And naturally, it didn't take much for her to convince Mark to unsever, because his belief that his wife was dead was the whole reason for getting severed to begin with. And he's been hurting for 2 years without resolution or healing. In the end, the feeling was that Mark had voluntarily become Frankenstein's monster. Yeah, so she was the reason. And essentially, dude's been dying inside for 2 years, believing that his wife is dead. And this whole time, she's not. Of course, she very much sounds like his reason to live. Because, yeah. But again, there's that issue of she might not even be in the building anymore. She better be in the building. Something's got to give. Something's got to give. But the Frankenstein's monsters thing, it was like, okay. So Ragabi had all this equipment in his basement. They move fast, by the way. Was it already in his trunk and he didn't know? But she has all this equipment, and then it shows him flipping back and forth between Audi and Innie, and he's on the desk in that, and part of that he's on the desk, and it just gave Frankenstein's monster, because Frankenstein is known to be on this I think it was just a metal bed or whatever, when he was being, or not Frankenstein, his monsters, because two different things. But it did give that feeling, especially given that technically Ragabi was experimenting on him. So that's where we are. That's where we'll end it, because I need to get to the next episode right now. I'm excited.